address the audience. Dr. Vinayak Damodar.
Honorable Chief Minister, Vikram Sampath, ladies and gentlemen, 2 volumes, you've seen them. I have only one word to describe them. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. A volume of such a size, 2 volumes of such a size, deserve no other word to describe them. Simply saying superb would not have been good enough. I chose that particular expression also in deference to Sumant Batra. And this particular KRF edition also has a focus on films. So some of you will have recognized that this is from My Fair Lady. And the actress was Audrey Hepburn. And we all know that Vikram is rather fond of the name Audrey. And the name Audrey is also rather fond of Vikram. I have not seen the Hindi versions before. I've seen the English versions. There are several people who have jumped onto the Savarkar bandwagon now. I've lost count of the number of books that have been written on Savarkar. Vikram is not part of the bandwagon. He was the horse leading the rest of the bandwagon. India has just won the Thomas Cup for the first time ever. And therefore, Citius Fortius suggests itself. In the English version that I read, the first volume was just short of 700 pages. So Vikram probably set a yardstick. Hey, look, how did I slip up on 700 pages? I must cross 700 pages. So volume 2 was just a little over 700 pages. These are 100 pages short, which leads me to wonder whether they've been censored in some form. Probably not. It's probably just the paper and the font. Vikram's Wikipedia page has been vandalized quite a lot. So I don't know whether this is the result of vandalism or not. But the Wikipedia page says that Vikram specialized or wanted to specialize in topology. Topology is very difficult for us normal humans to understand. So you'll understand something like a Mobius band, but the moment it becomes a Klein bottle, it's very difficult to understand. And here, although it's a book, although a book is 3D, when we are looking at it, it's actually 2D. And here we are talking about an individual who's much more than 3D. He's multidimensional, as Vikram pointed out. There's one thing that's there in the book, Vikram didn't mention it, but I find it truly remarkable. In our sacred texts, there is a reference to something called prioperation, which means that when you have fulfilled your role, you decide to exit consciousness. And it's not suicide. I cannot think of anyone else in contemporary India who has done this. So that just illustrates, in a way, how multidimensional Savarkar was. The 2 volumes have a very neat division in terms of his release and what happened subsequently. Anyone who writes a biography, I think almost definitionally, tends to be sympathetic that sympathy does not mean this is a hagiography, isn't it? And obviously, he exhibits sympathy towards the subject is but inevitable. And the amount of research that has gone into these two volumes, Vikram himself mentioned it, is stupendous. Including what at that time was fresh material. Including at that time, as Vikram again said, from the Marathi. I enjoyed reading the first two, the English versions. Assuming these have not been censored, I recommend you do read the Hindi versions also. Let me congratulate Vikram and Suman for having decided to launch them here, and let me also, on behalf of these two friends, thank the Honorable Chief Minister for having agreed to launch them here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Deberoy. Now I would like to kindly request our Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Dr. Pramod Sawant, to address the audience. Sir.
For the closing session of the Kumaon Literacy Festival, the release of book on Savarkar by Gautam Sampath, along with me, Dr. Vinayak Damodar Suman Batra, Vikram Sampath, all the dignitaries among the audience, my media friends. The friends, in my opinion, the history should be an independent representation of the occurrence that have happened in the past. The one can have his own interpretations based on the experience and intellect. But moreover, the history has to be the fact-driven and not the opinion-driven. Unfortunately, in our country, the history that has been forced upon us has been the propaganda of the West and what they thought about us. They thought that, and we are the land of snake charmers. They thought that we were the country of the poor. But my question is, did they invade us because we are the poor? The answer is definitely no. The first person to challenge this vicious propaganda was Sri Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Though his book is 1857, the Swatantra Samar, he challenged the British Empire and brought from their delivery of the glorious patriotism and who fought bravely against the British Empire. This book has ignited the flame of the patriotism among the many youth, and the British regime banned this book. Fortunately, only one copy of this book was saved with the Goan person, and this has helped in getting it reprinted. The Swatantraveer Savarkar was unsung hero and who fought the British regime, faced the most brutal punishment, and after the India's independence, the section of the people have only the spread lies, the falsehood, and hurted against him. The patriot and who wrote, Ne majasi parata matrabhumila sagara prana talamalala. The patriot who expressed the satisfaction that his family has sacrificed itself so that other countrymen can brave independently India through this word. संतान ह्या मातृभूमीसी 30 कोटी जे मातृभूमी रक्त संजना धन्य होती ते आपुले कुलही त्यामध्ये ईश्वरांसी निर्वंश होऊनी ठरले अखंड वंश. We as the Indians have largely failed to acknowledge the life and the work of the glorious patriots. I am happy that Sri Vikram Sampath has brought to light some of the well-researched content on the Veer Savarkar in the form of this book, and which will become an important document to inspire the future generation of our country. The Goa has always been integral part of the India, in spite of being under the Portuguese regime over the 4 decades. The Veer Savarkar has written a book named, as you said, the Gomantak, based on the plight of the Goans under the Portuguese operations and the need for the Goa's liberation. I take this opportunity to announce that the government of Goa will make it a point that reprint the Veer Savarkar's book, namely the 1857's Je Swatantra Samar and Gomantak, on the immediate basis. We will circulate these books and along with the written by Sri Vikram Sampat's book in all the libraries of the Goa. The Veer Savarkar also highlighted the importance of being Swayapurna in every sense. He stated that by coming the parallel Indian words to replace the English words, the examples, it is an audio tape, Dhwani feed, Meher, etc. So I thank for the organizers for calling me for this special function. I'll take this opportunity that I'm very much lucky person that I got the opportunity to visit the house of the Veer Savarkar in Ratnagiri, and also the Padit Pavan Mandir, which have started then by the Savarkar in the Ratnagiri. I'm very much lucky. Also the portrait of the Veer Savarkar, which we have already in our secretariat, we have portrayed there. So I'll take this opportunity for once again, thanks all the organizers for calling me for the release of these books. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to request Suman sir to give word of thanks.
Thank you, Sakshi. Honorable Chief Minister, Dr.